So family, I'm just waiting for more people to get online. So I'll be with you in a minute. Thanks for joining us on Live Light Well. Well, shalom family, and welcome to Live Light Well. I know it's been a really long time since I've been on here, since my channel was hijacked, all of that. So welcome, shalom. As you know, this channel is a channel primarily that started um, as a health and wellness site based on biblical principles. And of course, I made the transition into realizing I was a descendant of Israel, and I am an Israelite, a Natsar, and I'm also a Moreh, teacher of the law in female form. Moreh, I guess, is the proper term. But this whole health journey is what took me there. Shalom, Anita. And so, because of everything that's kind of going on right now, I thought it was really important that I do this video, which I also did on Into All Truth. And I wanted to really discuss the prepping for prevention, prepping for dealing with the things that are to come upon this place, which, you know, I consider to be Babylon. So the key thing, as I've said on my other channel, is not to panic, to trust Yah, to trust that we are the set apart people, and we will be tested, but we're not going to suffer as the nations will. So that's the key thing to remember. And no matter what, whatever happens, as long as we're under the blood, some are called to die, some are called to just go through a trial, some will go to the other side and into the wilderness to be tested by Hamashiach. No matter what, it's a test. And so, just trust in Yahuwah with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding, and acknowledge him in all your ways so he may direct your path. So I just want to praise Yah and give him all the glory. And I pray in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach that this word that goes forth will bless you, that it will find fertile soil in your hearts, and that the seed will spring forth with fruit, with hope, and in the spirit of the Ruach Kadesh, you will be given discernment. My motivation is always to lead you back to the ancient paths so that you can find hope and healing, but ultimately, and first of all, Mashiach and your Heavenly Father, Yahuwah. So, as I discuss what I've researched and looked into, I thought about how I should approach this, because I want to prepare you so that you don't need me. And so many of us are learning about natural healing ourselves as individuals. All kinds of people are, in particular the Hebrews are, and we've had many, many examples for that. So I'm trying to figure out if I should start with my article first, which is on my site, Live Light Well, or I have a couple of videos on disease and how it works. So I think I might start with the article, only because it's the most recent thing I've done. And so I'm just going to switch over. You guys, if you like, you can go over to livelightwell.com, and you're going to find this article on prepping for prevention. Now, this is just my cover for this particular broadcast, and there are many things for us to consider, and it is really encapsulated in this cover. But first, let me take you over to the article. So let me just see here what I do with it. Oh, there it is. Okay. Got a lot of stuff here. So a lot of slides. So if you guys will just bear with me, then you'll be able to catch up. So if you go to my site, livelightwell.com, here's the home page, and you just go to this tab, blog into all truth. You will find I'm going to be doing a lot more prepping videos on this channel, and these are some really good videos articles for you to take a look at. Healing in the Most High, healing reactions for when you're fasting and detoxing, ways to prevent that, and the best kind of juicer to buy and why, because it goes into the great things that juicing does for your body. But today we're going to focus on this article, which I suggest you save onto your phones. Prep for Prevention, Natural Health Amidst Plagues. And here we're going to go over to it, because I've forgotten my own title, you guys. Here it is. Plagues, Prep for Prevention, Natural Health Amidst Plagues and Affliction. So I just wanted to show this to you. So this is a reference for you guys all to go to find all of this information. And so what I say again is that healthcare is of the utmost importance when you are prepping period. And of course, when you're prepping for plagues, like well, you're not prepping for a plague, but you're prepping for prevention and the advent of any health concerns, because historically in scripture, what tends to happen is that Yah will send the sword and famine, and there will also come plagues because there's a lot of death and starvation, which creates disease and creates a lot of creatures coming in to digest, people who are no longer with us. So this is why healthcare is so important. And so this is a prepping video. And this is also a video to help you just maintain your health or even fight any illnesses you have. And of course, this is always, always going to start with eating Hebraically, eating a diet or a live it that comes from scripture. So you're always going to want to be eating according to Torah. And this is one of the things that is going to prevent us from death. But of course, the most important thing is that you have the blood on the doorpost. In other words, you're under the blood of Yeshua or Yahushua HaMashiach, and you know that your Father is Yah, and you're obeying his laws, statutes, and commandments. And of course, for those of you who are believers in Jesus, or you don't believe in any of this stuff, what you can consider these as is the laws of the matrix, the laws of the earth, because Yah says that Yeshua said, not a jot or a tittle of my law will pass away until all things, not just some, but all things be fulfilled. And that Israel will come returning to the land with the law and the testimony of Yahushua HaMashiach, who others might know as Jesus Christ. So, but it's not the same person, but it is he is the Savior. Okay, it's just the name is wrong in Christianity. So we've got to obey the food laws, we've got to obey the divine order, and we have to return to the natural ancient paths. That is key to our healing. Now, why is this? Well, I'm going to get into it. But let's go back to the articles just so that you guys can take a look at it and you can follow along with me. So, healthcare is of the utmost importance when you are prepping to prevent disease. And so with the onslaught of viruses and plagues and pestilence, disease is going to abound. So this is certainly not an exhaustive list, but there's a lot of stuff here that should be very beneficial to you guys in terms of preventing disease and illness. And so what I'm going to say is, just for your sake, try to keep it simple. Get at least 3 from each category, or 1, because there's a number of categories here. Now, as a rule, the divine order and natural medicine is the best source for survival medicines. And of course, natural medicines also fulfill what is called the multi-use function. That means they can be used for things beyond their single conventional use, beyond their natural healing use in terms of this context and discussion. So multi-use substances are key because they can be used in concert with one or another substance, or on their own, or even interchangeably. And so this is where they're always superior to man-made isolates. Now, when I use the term man-made isolates, I mean what pharmaceutical companies or man has created from distilling certain things down. So an example of that would be vitamin C. Well, you're going to find vitamin C in a lot of different kinds of fruits and vegetables. However, man will distill it down into a pharmaceutical single isolate that you will take. And of course, in this form, it lacks its synergistic effect. And what I call is its multidimensional, 3-dimensional light force energy effect that Yah created it with, right? Its vibrancy, its life, all the minerals and light that will infuse your body with life and his creation power. So this is what I'm talking about when I say an isolate is something a pharmaceutical company would create. Or for example, if we were going to say, oh yeah, it's really good to drink sugarcane juice, which it is, or to drink mango juice or apple juice or whatever it is, freshly juiced, no additives, no pasteurizing, nothing. But what we do is we go and we pasteurize it, or we boil it down and make it into sugar or syrup. That's an isolate. And when you isolate things, certain things like that, then they tend to become disease causing things because they've been altered. So taking things in their natural form as Yah created them is usually the best thing to do. They can be distilled, but not when we're talking about things like sugar. Okay, so let's take a look at the article again. So once again, we're going to seek the ancient paths. We're going to seek the ancient paths for healing. But, you know, we have to admit that some conventional health care may be necessary and useful. Unfortunately, it won't necessarily be available. It has a shelf life and it's expensive, but it must be taken into consideration, especially those who are elderly or who are on medication, have been from the time they were children. Um, when we're prepping, it's a good idea to ensure that you have stocked up on your first aid or medical items, and you can go to your doctor and ask for your prescriptions to have double or triple prescriptions on hand because of the particular times that we're in. But also, in terms of just having a basic first aid kit, it's a really good idea. You want to have simple stuff like aspirin or Tylenol. The other painkillers tend to really tax the liver, and the liver is key to healing. Also, we want to avoid antibiotics, but I do say, yeah, have a little bit of polysporin or polysporin eye drops for things like pink eye or eye infections, first aid bandaging kits. An enema bucket is always good. It was always with disposable tubes. You can get ones that kind of look like hot water bottles. They're always good for a quick detox and purging of the system if someone's getting really toxic. Okay, and of course, like I said, the prescription meds. Now, 70% of pharmaceuticals have active ingredients and packaging that is coming from China. So it's a good idea with things slowing down over there to stock up on your prescriptions, okay? And, you know, like I said, painkillers, bandages, and emergency kits are necessary in terms of a quick fix. You know, there are natural ways that fevers can be reduced, but taking a pill if you're on the run or something like that, or you're not in your home, you're running, or you're in a shelter or something like that, you can't necessarily use baths to alter your state of fever. So, you know, tepid baths instead of pills can be used for fever reduction, but on the run, pharmaceuticals become very necessary. Bandages can set broken bones and strains or cover wounds in a crisis. And antibiotics, though they're damaging to the immune system and the lymphatic system, if you're taking them internally through your stomach or on a mass kind of a scale, are, how can I say this? They are, if you're, let's say you're on the run, okay, and you're trying to, you know, figure out where to go, what to do, all of these kinds of things. Well, if your eyes are hurt or something like that, and you can just put some polysporin eye drops in your eye and your eye will get better, then your sight won't be compromised, okay? Because you need to be able to see clearly. Or if you have a tiny cut and you put in the polysporin, you can avoid some kind of staph infection, some kind of other disease like that, okay? And, you know, I'm going to cover essential oils and other things that can help with these kinds of things. But these are quick fixes coming from the pharmaceutical world. You can even make eye salves from things like boron or salts, sea salt. These things can help to prevent things like pink eye and so on and so forth. There's a click through on the page here to boron and the things that it can be done, as well as a click through here on enemas and the ways that enemas can help you to detox, because especially if you are on some kind of psychological medication. It is important to get your prescription, because people withdrawing from psychological medications can go absolutely mad, literally. And they are designed so that you can't withdraw from them quickly, a lot of them. So I really encourage you, if you have a loved one who is on one of these medications, to stock up for them. And, if you feel you need to sort of be the one who's guarding over them, do that, whatever is needed in that particular case. But it's a good idea to have them on hand, because in the event of a greater crisis, you don't want to have something like that adding to the problem, or a severe illness like heart pills, diabetic medication. I'm somebody who's into detoxing the body and dealing with these things naturally. We're going to go into some of the things that do that. But in a pinch, if you haven't been able to do that by now or by the next crisis that comes up, make sure you stock up on your medications. Now, another thing that I said really helps with people who are dealing with severe illness is enemas. And you've got to counter that, however, with juicing. Because what it does is it helps to clean out the lymphatic system very quickly if people are detoxing and their brains are going nuts. Okay, so usually what happens with pharmaceuticals. So, but again, I am not a doctor. I showed the disclaimer at the beginning. You'll have to consult a doctor for these things if you're talking about medicine and healthcare. I'm just passing on research that I've learned, and it's your choice to do what you choose to do. Okay? I'm here to try to empower you to look after your own health, so you don't need me. Okay? So now, according to the FDA and the World Organization, because of there's going to be a shortage of supplies because of infections going around the world right now. And so, and a lot of times, pharmaceutical companies, medical systems will take their, I guess, right of intervention, I guess you want to say, and grab all those supplies themselves. So it's important to have some of them on hand, just so that you don't need to worry about it. And then as a prep, in this time of testing, because I honestly think this could be a time of testing just to get us moving towards having the bug out bags, having the natural medications on hand, having things available, so that when the real crisis comes, we will really be prepared in the event that this is just, because I still haven't made up my mind, family, on this, in the event that this is just a kind of a false flag. Okay? So another thing I really suggest, family, is that you seriously look into alternative herbs. Okay? And that is because a lot of them can still be found in nature. You can stock up on them yourself. They're a lot easier on the body. And then you're not necessarily dependent on pharmaceutical companies for your health. Because in a sense, and I'm going to say this, hi Tomiko, it's nice to see you back again. What happens is that when the medical system starts to control stuff like this, it becomes a control for you. Your health can be bartered with, and it can become a factor of, if you don't take this shot or vaccine, we're not going to give you heart medication, because you're going to die anyway if you don't take our vaccine, right? So that's why it's really important to try to move more so to natural remedies. Fasting is another main one, but you can get my book, Chaya, Eat, Life, and Fast, for more information on that. So once again, we're going to return to looking at the ancient path. Who were the ancient healers? I mean, we know there was Hippocrates, we know that there was Imhotep, and there was Noah. And a lot of the Hebrews already know this, but there's a lot of people who don't actually realize this. Hippocrates said, let your food be your medicine and your medicine be your food. And he said that the gut was the seat of health. And of course, Hippocrates learned much of what he learned from Imhotep, because we know that the Babylonian system that was established probably pre-flood, but then was present in Egypt and then also in Babylon, also then moved on to Greece and then Rome. They have all the same gods, just rebranded with different names. And so the spiritual health practices, scientific beliefs were very much the same. But of course, Israel also very powerfully influenced these nations. So, when we look at the book of Jubilees, chapter 10, verses 10 through 14, we find that the faithful angels of the Most High taught Noah all of their medicines. For he knew that he would not, that they, the human beings, would not walk in uprightness, his descendants and sons, nor strive in righteousness, and that we, or they, explained to the angels, explained to Noah all the medicines of the fallen angels and evil spirits' diseases, together with their seductions, and taught Noah how he might heal them with the herbs of the earth. Right? So this is Yah's pharmacy, right? So we can really trust that Yah has had us in his hands from the beginning, and in particular, Israel, okay? And so it says, and Noah wrote down all things in a book as we instructed him concerning every kind of medicine. Thus the evil spirits were precluded from hurting the sons of Noah, and he gave all that he had written to Shem, his eldest son, who is the great, 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 great grandfather of Abraham and Israel. Okay? For he loved him exceedingly above all his sons. So who are the ancient healers of today that we can get clues as to what these herbs are from? Well, obviously, and you guys know my channel, it's Dr. Sebi. Okay, so, and of course, many of our famed natural healers are always persecuted or killed for the vital information they provided around healing, and it's no wonder that all of their herbs tend to have a lot in common, okay? So the North American healers that we can look at today and see what their remedies had in common, I'm just going to choose, I chose two for this article. And I chose Dr. Sebi because of his Afro-Biomineral diet. And we know that he was cured of impotence, diabetes, and actually psychological illness by doing a 90-day fast and taking herbs from a man from Mexico. Okay? And then he studied herbs in West Africa and all over. Okay? And then he went on and healed many people, and was forced in the city of New York to defend himself against the FDA, who had claimed he was practicing medicine without a license. Well, so he eventually actually was able to prove with evidence that he had cured AIDS, diabetes, cancer, and more with herbs, and he was not convicted of practicing medicine without a license. Why? Because as he said, he wasn't practicing medicine. He's a herbalist. Ta-da! So there we go. The line of these herbs is passed on from Moshe to Shem, all the way to Sebi, okay? And he was a self-taught engineer who eventually went on to do engineering over the city of Baltimore, and he spent most of his childhood observing the procession of life. So you can see he was observing Yah's order until he was 20, and that's when he went to school, and he went onto a ship, and then that's when he started to go to school and learn engineering. So according to Sebi, our pituitary gland is made of carbon and our cerebral cortex copper, and these are the two elements of a power generator. And he used herbs to maintain the electric body. So one of the first things I want to come to is Sebi's bio-mineral cleanses, Bio 1 and Bio 2. We're going to go into more of his products and his iron supplement Maya, and then he also used Irish moss. I always talk about these things because Irish moss has most of the minerals our body needs, and as well as his Maya supplement also has that. And then the Bio 1 and Bio 2 will help to cleanse mucus and invaders out of your body. Because when you're dealing with your health, it's really as a result, and we're going to watch this video eventually by Mark James called The Cause, basically on the cause of disease. But we need to pull all the mucus and toxicity out of our body, flush and cleanse it out of our body as we are adding nutrients and strengthening it in order to heal most diseases, okay? That is the ancient path of healing, and it often works very well with herbs. Now, as just a little sidebar right now, you guys, you may notice I'm wearing a lot of jewelry. I'm actually wearing jewelry under my clothing. And this is something that kind of put into my mind based on a discussion I was having with a friend of mine who's an electrician. And I've been studying a lot about power because I'm trying to learn about a whole bunch of off-grid stuff, which I'll eventually share with you about power and prepping for if everything goes out. But we are Yah's vessels, his holy vessels of righteousness that he is going to call to come into his temple. And so what I was learning from my friend who's an electrician is that these particular metals, especially things like copper and stuff and gold, actually change your electrical charge. So do things like magnets. And I'm wearing a number of silver necklaces here as well. And so these things, this is why our people wore these things. And of course, Yah put them on Israel when he married Israel. He put them when Isaac's envoy Eliezer was sent to go and get Rebecca. He gave her all these jewels and put all these bracelets on her. And when Yah talks about finding Israel and cleaning Israel up and marrying Israel, he puts a ring in her nose and he puts all these bracelets and necklaces on her because just to convey the value. But also, it also brings health to our body. It corrects our field. And this is in line with Sebi's view that the body is in fact electric. And of course, if you watch my video, and I really encourage you to watch it, Fearfully and Wonderfully Made, please do watch it because it talks about, and I think it's on this channel and it's on Into All Truth, and it really talks about how the body is designed in line with the earth. And Fearfully and Wonderfully Made takes a biblical view of the design of the world. And of course, the earth is always spoken of as being a woman, and heaven actually marries earth. So heaven is like the man, earth is like the woman, etc., etc. So we can get a lot of cues from the design of our earth in order to understand how our bodies work. And literally, the earth has a heartbeat. It has an electromagnetic field. And so when I was looking at all these things, when I found Sebi, I was like, wow, this all just clicks with scripture. So this is how we know Sebi is in line with scripture. So there was I just want to move on with this now. In 1922, a Canadian woman named Renee Case, she was a nurse and she met an 81-year-old woman who had been healed of cancer in the hospital. And this woman, I can show you the product she came up with. This woman had been healed of cancer, and the herbs that she found were actually herbs that were given to her by the First Nations people here. And of course, we know that the original indigenous people here in North America were Black people. And so what you can do is the first people of North America happened to be Black-skinned people, as documented in John Ogilvy's book, America. So you can just click here and you can click through to the article and you can see images of the original people who looked just like Africans. They were not what we call the Bering Crossing people who look kind of more Mongoloid. They were actually black-skinned, kinky-haired to brown-skinned people. And so it was these people who passed on these herbs for healing to this woman. And so Renee Case, who was a nurse, went to a doctor who later, Dr. Fisher, became the dean of Toronto University. She asked him to oversee her testing this herbal tea on an actual cancer patient. Well, the herbal tea cured the woman, and she was able to live for 21 more years after that. Now, she called this tea Essiac tea. It's also called Resveratrol. And Fluorescence, you can order it in the States through the company Fluorescence, which originates here in Vancouver, British Columbia. And I've also put links for that here in the article, okay? So you see Fluorescence and Resveratrol in order to find them. So, but the interesting thing about these medicines is that obviously they came from the 10 tribes. They came from the 12 tribes of Israel, right? And so again, we're tracing this back to the ancient past and doing the former things, right? Which is what Yah calls us to do when he says, no longer will your teachers withdraw themselves from you, but they will say, here is the way, walk there in it. And that is the time that we're in. So what we do is, I want you to take a look at this article and see for yourselves that this is what the Essiac tea contains. Burdock root, sheep sorrel, slippery elm, bark, rhubarb root, watercress, red clover, and blessed thistle. Now, if we look at Sebi's, some of his herbs, they're containing the same thing. Milk thistle, rhubarb root, burdock root, slippery elm, elderberry and Irish moss, or some other herbs that can be found locally that he also uses. So in the event that you can't get these herbs, or you can't afford to get them from Dr. Sebi, and I really only recommend Sebi, then, and I have a link to where you can get them from here in the article as well. Just stock up on the herbs, because these can be expensive, okay? Just stock up on the herbs. You can order them online, especially if you're in the States and you're near Mexico. Go across that Mexican border, and they're going to have a lot of them in bulk. Just make sure you get the best parts of them. Another good thing to do to prep is to get wildcrafting books and pamphlets to identify healing herbs and plants in the wilderness. Okay? Because what's the source of healing? The Creator. Again, Yah has given us everything for life and godliness. Okay? And so he's prepared this world for us to live in, and he's given us these herbs. So prepare yourself to identify healing plants indigenous to your area in order to fight disease and make healing preparations on the run. You guys, it is so easy to find. Like, I found milk thistle. I haven't found elderberry yet. I think that's going to be because I was searching in the fall last year and summer, but I'm going to look for elderberry this year. There's burdock root everywhere. Get used to wildcrafting for drying. And, you know, just simple things like rowan berries appear everywhere. They're really good if you've got elderly problems, like if you've got stomach problems, liver problems. And a lot of people have these, even people in their 20s and teens, because of all the stuff happening with this funny trails in the sky and with 5G and so on and so forth. So a lot of people are suffering. So when you're dealing with things like dandelions, dandelion roots, these kinds of things help to detox the liver. And ironically, what's happening is that here in Vancouver, they have what they call this invasive plant. They're saying that Japanese knotweed is this invasive plant that's in BC, just taking everything over, taking all the other plants over. And really, it's like Yah is going, okay, eat this stuff to prevent the imbalance that's happening around you. So Japanese knotweed is basically resveratrol, which they say occurs in wine, and it helps with so many things. And I may put some more pictures up here in the article later, but learn to identify these things, okay? Because it's screaming, eat me out here in BC and in the Pacific Northwest, okay? So it is a potent form of resveratrol, an antioxidant that assists neural pathways in clearing out and eliminating plaque and free radicals. Okay, so if you've got Alzheimer's or brain problems, which is usually congestion of the lymph and the brain, and what I'm going to show you in a minute is I'm talking about the solutions first, and then I'm going to talk to you about what we understand the disease to be, according to many people, the diseases around us that are compromising us and sort of causing epidemics around us, okay? So it is good for congestion in the brain. The lymphatic system, again, as I always say, it extends into the brain. Conventional medicine only admitted this 3 years ago, but of course, all these other doctors have known it from the beginning of time. Of course, Noah included. So the lymphatic system, which is in the gut and all over the body, extends all the way into the brain, which influences your appetite and what you eat. And that's why we have the laws of YA around food. So if you are having Alzheimer's symptoms and stuff, it's your lymphatic system, acid in the brain, parasites, whatnot, okay? And so this resveratrol helps to eliminate plaque and acidity in the body and in the brain. It's ideal for cold, cough, and respiratory disorders. And so if you're driven to fight a virus, you can just pick it, use the roots in juices if they're wet, or dried in teas. Okay? And of course, it's heart healthy. It also acts as a bit of a laxative. You have to rotate out of this protocol for a little while if you're trying it, and then go back on it. It's good for blood sugar regulation. Now, this is conventional medicine talking about what this does. But I am going to be sure, because based on my understanding of how medicine works with the body and the lymphatic system, it's got to be a parasite and an acidity killer, and it eliminates it through your gut, all of those things. So then when you have less acidity in the body, or things sapping your energy and stuff, your digestion improves, your blood sugar improves. You no longer have acid wearing down the walls of your lymphatic system, or causing blood clots or stressing your heart. Okay, so and it's helping you detox your liver. Again, this is what natural herbs tend to do. So also this is rowan berry, but elderberry is one of the big ones, and they can usually be made into fruit leathers or syrups. I just made this syrup by boiling up some berries with water and then straining it out, and then I bottled it just like you would if you're bottling preserves, in a boiling hot bottle, sealed it tight shut, and then would just add it to drinks, okay? Or you can make jelly fruit roll-ups with it and use it as doses that way and preserve it that way. There are things like chewing pine, cypress, spruce tree resin. I've already shown this to you guys before. This is tree resin, okay? This is actually frankincense. You can chew a tiny bit of this, and because this is actually what naturopaths will recommend to you, they'll call it something like serrata powder, and they'll recommend to you to take daily. Because what does it do? We're built like trees. Again, these are overarching principles. We are built like trees. So there are things that come from the tree that benefit us, whether in the form of oils, essential oils, or if we're eating these resins, they assist our stomach. They kill bacteria in the mouth. So they help to keep your teeth clean, okay? Kill bad things in the stomach, all right? Monsters. Okay, so if you're in the wilderness or something and you see some pine resin out there and it looks pretty clean, or you can scrape off the outside and just eat the inside, chew on it, because it's good for your stomach, and especially if somebody has a toothache or something like that. And then you can boil pine needles and stuff to make yourself a tea that creates a camphor-like effect on the system, helping assisting the lungs, again, the stomach. Now, here's a really important factor here, and that is essential oils. This is one of the main things that is so important to have. You don't have to have everything, but there are certain ones you really, really want to have, okay? They are superfoods that support the gut, kill viruses, fungus and molds and parasites and pathogens, but they taste good, okay? And so this includes oils made from things that we eat. So we can eat, and you can actually take herbs and make your own super strong tinctures using a mortar and pestle. But we eat things like rosemary, thyme, savory, basil. These are things we cook with, and you should cook with, because they help to clean the food you're eating, and they aid your digestion, but they also boost your immune system. So there are oils derived from that. But essential oils are basically all antiviral, and this has been proven, and they're antifungal, antibacterial, okay? They can stop influenza, streptococcus, and one of the most effective oils to be found around this is the thieves' oil, the oil which was used by thieves during the Black Plague so that they could steal from corpses and not get the plague. It's pretty disgusting. But so here's the thieves' oil, and it contains cinnamon, eucalyptus, rosemary, and lemon oil. Rosemary, you know, when you make rosemary chicken or you make rosemary focaccia or whatever, is so beneficial to your health. That's something you need to grind up. I have a friend who just makes these things. She's Jamaican, right? And she just grind them up with the mortar and pestle. There's no sin in that. You just, it's because you're just trying to get all the essences and oils out of it, right? Just like you can use, oh my gosh, I'm just about to go off on a tangent, because it's just, once I get this stuff in my head, you guys, I want to explode with it. But let me keep calm and just try to give you basic information. So, yeah, with the thieves' oil, the lemon oil. So if you have lemons, a great deodorant is to put under your arms is from the rind of a lemon or a lime. You will not stink for the whole day. Tell me. I'm telling you, you won't. And it's medicinal because it kills bad things, right? So modern science is always late in catching up. They've done this huge, this is in the US National Library of Medicine, has this, talks about these essential oils and their antimicrobial properties. This is an amazing article, you guys, for you guys to take a look at. Because, see, here's the title here. I used to have a link there. I've got to put it back in. I have it in a different version of this article. But yeah, they are antimicrobial, antiviral. They fight E. coli and multiple strains of influenza, strep, and salmonella, and more. Okay. Now, our people used to rinse and wash, and I still all of our meat with either lemon juice, or you can use salt. We would salt it, or vinegar before we start cooking anything. That would kill everything on it. That's how our people were. That's how they lived. That's how I was raised. So, yeah, they effectively destroy several bacterial, fungal, and viral pathogens. The presence of different types of aldehydes. So aldehydes are what you find in trees, right? Tree oils. Phenolics, terpenes, and other terpenes. They always talk about that when they're talking about cannabis, right? The terpenes. And other antimicrobial compounds means that the essential oils are effective against a diverse range of pathogens. Essential oils have tremendous business potential in the global market owing to their unique flavor and fragrance properties, and also biological activities. Essential oils are employed in aromatherapy for treatments of several diseases, including cardiovascular disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, cancer, MS, I know for sure. And the antimicrobial impacts of essential oils and their chemical components have been recognized by several researchers in the past. This is a huge article that goes into many, many of these essential oils found in herbs, spices, and tree oils and seed oils, okay? So these are one of the most valuable things that you can have in your arsenal. And the ones that I have this is the main one that you should get if you have frankincense, and that's Sarata. Just remember Sarah, okay? Sarah, wife of Abraham. Sarata, which means tomorrow, and we're the tomorrow people, right? So, so of course, lavender is a great one to have, but the number one to have is thieves' oil, because it's got the 5 oils, and so how many hands How many fingers are on a hand? On the hand of Yah, 5. On the Yod, 5. Hand of destruction, right? That's why I like cannabis too. It's usually a five-pronged leaf, right? Hand of destruction. You know, take the serpent and parasite by the hand, you know, and strangle it. There's all these like little clues and things that Yah shows us in his created order that can clue you off. And this is what I mean. You guys have got to take this in yourself and then operate intuitively on that ancient path according to the Ruach so that you can understand these things. And I know there's going to be a bunch of people on here who are listening to me going, I saw that too. I felt that too. Yah showed me that too. So I know it's true. I know that's what's happening. So I can't get my page to scroll. So anyway, now, like I said, these ordinary cooking herbs and spices have incredible medicinal effects. So it's a good idea to keep them in glass jars, dark jars. You can put them in oils so that the oils become infused with them. But again, keep them in dark jars like these dark ones featured here. You don't want plastic leaching into anything. And then tons of herbs and spices when you're cooking. This is why the Jamaicans, I think the Jamaicans have one of the closest, aside from the pork, Hebrew diets. And I think a lot of the West Africans do, the people in Africa, really do have probably the closest to the Hebrew diet, okay? Especially berberine. Berberine is like a major disease killer. When I was dealing with a cold this month, or last month, I guess it is, I found the berberine spice. Okay, so that's the Ethiopian berry spice, okay? I made a soup with that. What? That berberine has some powerful effects, okay? Now, let me just give you the definition, the difference between herbs and spices. Spices are usually roots, fruits, or seeds ground up into powders, okay? This is called a spice. So these are things like ginger, turmeric, cayenne pepper, allspice, which is pimento, okay? Allspice is a major one. Of course, you find that in real jerk spice, okay? And you find thyme in there, and you find garlic in there, and you find all kind of thing. You find hot peppers, because hot peppers, cayenne pepper or Scotch bonnet pepper, major killer of disease, okay? Garlic, onions, pimento, I already said that. I did it twice here. Cinnamon and clove, okay? So we already talked about clove is one of the major antiviral disinfectors. They used to use it, when I was a kid, they would use it on my teeth, okay, when they were prepping my tooth for work. So again, eating clove, like capsuled clove powder, you see it in East Indian restaurants and stuff like that. They'll have you chewing on anise, or they'll give you a clove to actually chew on after your meal. Really good for your stomach, good for killing anything bad that might have been in that food. Okay, so onions, garlic, that kind of thing. So here's a nice little picture of them all. Spices have been well researched for their beneficial effects on cleansing the liver and kidneys and gallbladders and supporting body detoxification of the lymph. We always want to think about the lymphatic system, cleaning it out. The whole world is polluted right now. The water shows that pollution. You can think of the soil and the water on the earth as your lymphatic system, okay? The soil of your body and some of the waterways of your body, okay? And so it always has to get cleaned out if you're going to clean up your body, okay, and get into good health. And so, so these spices, or I'll go into them individually in different segments, but these are just some basic ones. Basil, garlic, turmeric. This is burdock root here on the right. Okay, there's some thyme, and then the cayenne pepper in the back. I get these things at Superstore. I don't know what you guys have for your big ethnic kind of store in the States, but I'm sure you have your ethnic sections. And of course the basil leaf is just great. I can't, when I had my cold, I would just make tons of pesto sauce with fresh, it's not Sebi. I was making it initially with just onion and a bit of cayenne pepper, but lots of lime and basil. And I would just put it on some bread and I would eat it first thing in the morning. It would just blast out my throat. So, and these are great things for you to try to grow, okay, inside your home so that you can have access to them, okay? And here's the herbs: thyme, savory, oregano, and rosemary. These are some amazing ones that heal the body. And they're also written up in the article that I mentioned up here. Okay, they're all mentioned there in that article, that medical paper. Okay, so cilantro, basil, cannabis, dandelion. These are some herbs that you can eat that are extremely medicinal. And this is why it's important to cook with them and have them raw. Because even if there's something wrong going on in your food, these things are going to protect you, okay? And then medicinally, you just boil them up, like it just in you boil them into into like a reduced, just absolutely disgusting thing to drink. So much it almost makes you want to vomit, and your lungs will clear out. Okay, now in terms of cannabis, I, according to scripture, we're not to use pharmakia. We're not to use or be involved with pharmakia, and that means mind altering or body altering drugs. And those are usually what I call isolates, okay? Things that are isolated into a drug form, a pharmakia, pharmaceutical. So we always want to use things as Yah created them, with their three-dimensional impact. And so I do recommend that people use cannabis. It has a great flavor in salads and stuff like that. But if you can get enough leaves, you can juice it raw, and that the THC is not activated when it's raw. That's why they want to have it regulated and sold as medicine, because then the THC must be activated, because it must be preserved. And to preserve it, you must dry it. And once it's dried, then that THC gets more activated and it becomes a drug. Okay? So that's why a lot of people emphasize the CBD oils. Okay? Now, all of these things are great for fighting viruses. They're great for fighting cancer. Whenever we hear about what's going on with this so-called epidemic or pandemic, we hear that it's there are rumors that it's man-made, and that it's not just a flu virus, that it also has the AIDS virus within it, and or something like the Ebola. And there's more evidence to that, which I might get into later, because they are saying the clue is what they're treating it with, and and the people they're consulting with, and their Ebola and AIDS virus doctors and AIDS virus treatments. Okay. Now we know that with these herbs, okay, Sebi was curing AIDS. Okay. So this is why you don't need to be fearful. Yah is good. Okay. We just have to follow the ancient paths. Okay. So cannabis, you can juice it, and you can, children have taken it. There is a doctor who cured his wife of multiple diseases and got married to her after he cured her. And he just gave her juiced cannabis, because he met her when she was like 16, and they married years and years later. But he just gave her juiced raw cannabis. And he also treated babies with brain tumors with it. So it's just a food at that point, and you don't heat it. As soon as you heat it, it activates THC. I don't like drugs. I don't like drugs. I'm really sensitive to stuff like that. It makes me crazy. Drugs, I don't like them. I don't like THC. So the other alternative, if you can't get the raw, is to just use the CBD oils. The CBD oils tend to they'll have like 0.01% THC in them, just so that they have that full spectrum, the 360-degree spectrum, three-dimensional spectrum of healing in them. They try to maintain that. So you can use things like CBD. So another oil to stock up on is black cumin seed oil. Okay, and you want the variety, hold on one second. That is, I hope there's nothing like filthy in my background that's going to show up when I step away, but I don't think so. Let me see here. I wanted to show you one of the oils that I have. Got it. So, the black cumin seed oil that I was using. There's one that I was using that is from Israel, and then there's another that I found from NRX. And so the one from Israel is the potent ingredient is in it. Now, forgive me, guys, I'm an old lady here. Is Nigella sativa seed. That is the black seed. Okay. And so I got this NRX one, but I also got one from Israel that was really, really potent. And I was taking that when I had a little bit of the flu this month. So that was very helpful. But I think this is one you can also get in the United States. All right. So I mentioned CBD oil, oil of oregano. Sorry, I just swallowed a bit of water. Tea tree oil. I already talked about sriracha, frankincense. Castor oil is also a good oil to have, good to put it on your body. Now, what I would do is you key lymph node areas are under the breast area. On all of your glands, you have major lymphatic areas running across here. So you just part your hair in the middle and put the oil over top of your head and in a part all the way down the middle. Divide your hair into 4 and mix it with a bit of thieves oil and apply that to your neck and your head at night, okay, before you go to sleep. Okay, DMSO is another thing if you're dealing with ear pain, that kind of thing. All of these oils on your ears, behind your ears, on your glands, and all over your head, okay? They'll make your hair grow too at the same time, but not in the wrong place, on top of your head. But, and coconut oil. All of these things are antifungal. Cancer is associated with acidity, with the body overproducing cells because of the acidity and poisoning of the blood that comes from the breaking down of the immune system and the multiplying of pathogens and stuff. And so a lot of these oils will kill molds and funguses that create more disease and acidity in the body, or that are the byproduct of a lot of yeast in the body. Okay? Now, these oils can also be combined with things like baking soda, charcoal, or resin powders to make toothpaste. Okay, and so this is what I mean. They can be used as oils on the body, oils on the hair. They can be used internally, externally, where there's pain, to kill things, especially like CBD oil, or if you're using, like, I will actually use a THC-based oil like Phoenix Tears or something. You can use externally on things that, for example, if you're talking about AIDS or Ebola or something like that, or if you're talking about cancer, you're dealing with cysts and stuff in the body, moving around in your body, violating your body. And so a lot of these oils applied topically where you're finding that there's pain and stuff will smart these things. Okay, so yeah, so a lot of these things can be used to make things like toothpaste, can be used to treat bug bites, all kinds of things. And so here are some natural chemicals, multi-use chemicals that I also suggest and recommend. Sorry guys, I'm making a mess here. I got too much stuff on my desk. It's just how I am. Yeah, here's some things that are naturally sort of more natural chemicals that you can use, that you can stockpile, that will have the multi-use function. So you can use them to cook with, you can use them to clean with, and you can also use them for your health. Okay? And so they are hydrogen peroxide. And there's, again, I've done a link here where you can click through to all of these hydrogen peroxide treatments. It gives you the percentage of hydrogen peroxide you use and how to dilute it. One of the things that I did when I had this little cold was I put bath salts. Okay, I should actually have, oh, I do have salt on the list. sea salt and Himalayan salt. I used bath salts, and I used the thieves oil, or I would use the clove, powdered clove, with hydrogen peroxide in hot water, and I would just soak. And I would like, oh, it put me to sleep so well. But it's very invigorating when you're healthy, so be careful. So if you're dealing with somebody who is too hot and their fever needs to come down, you would do a tepid bath. Now, if you Google tepid bath online, let me see if I can do it here. Tepid bath. It just shows this weird thing. It shows a toilet because they don't want you to do it, right? Oh no, take the drugs. Take the drugs. Don't do a tepid bath. I learned this from my girlfriend who's Jamaican, right? And she told me about a tepid bath. And see, look what it comes up with. They have the image of a toilet. But when you look at it, it has nothing to do with that. They're just kind of trying to, oh, it's a toilet bath. She stopped her son's fevers that way. So you see, there's no toilet. This is something else. This is called some other kind of bath. I don't know what it is, sitz bath or something. I don't know. But a tepid bath is a bath that is just below body temperature, and it will pull the fever down, because it's almost the way that I see it. This is again, revealing these things to me. It's almost like you're in the womb, you're in this amniotic fluid, right, in your mother's womb. And so it helps you to balance and set your system and establish your whole immune system and all this kind of stuff. So that's what a bath does as well. It's like, so it's almost like a tepid bath says, oh, this is mama womb saying, body, cool down, because the functioning immune system of the true host of the body isn't quite working right. So we're going to go to mama womb to reset it. It's not as simple. You know what I mean? Yeah, is so good, isn't he? The way that he does things is just so well. So another one is colloidal silver, which I talked to a friend of mine recently, and her daughter was dealing with a lot of asthma, and she found that she brought her child's asthma down very well. Silver, right? Silver, vessels of silver and gold. We need to be salt among the nations, right? And if you lose your saltiness, you should be thrown out. These are, when you're reading this scripture, that's why it's so important to know the word family. When you're reading the scripture, you take these things in your ruach, and then when you start to look at these things in nature, then Yah gives you the understanding, right? By the ruach. So we're like, oh, okay, like hydrogen peroxide, colloidal silver has silver in it. We're vessels of silver, so it's got to be good for you, right? Okay. So another one is, I've done some formatting errors here, guys. Sorry, but you know me. I need an editor, and I can't spell. My mother spoiled me by reading to me. So anyway, so baking soda is another one, alkaline. People do baking soda enemas. You can do colloidal silver enemas. You can do salt water enemas, because this is again, it's like priming your system to say, this is the set balance, okay? Reset button. We're resetting you because this is the alkalinity you need. This is the saline level you need. That's what enemas will do. You do some water flushing to flush out the feces, but then you, with these kinds of enemas, more so they're more medicinal, and they're like a chemical reset in your body. So you can use baking soda. Things that you can clean with, obviously, are charcoal, but charcoal can mop up a lot of toxins in your stomach. Bad things hate charcoal. Bad things hate bentonite clay. Bentonite clay has tons of magnesium, very alkalinizing. So this is if you're dealing with sickness, stomach disease, illnesses out in the wilderness or at home or in your, whatever bug out camp or wherever you are. Iodine, of course, as well, is great for preventing infection. So that's another great thing to apply on your lymph and your solar plexus or around your lungs and stuff like that if you're sick. Okay, and it can be carried in by oils. But it'll keep you disinfected and support your immune system. Okay, so you can use a lot of these things in concert. Just be very careful though with the chemicals. Like if we're talking about borax, baking soda, hydrogen peroxide. Don't be mixing any of these because you're going to get like, you just mix them in the real world and you'll see what happens. You'll bubble over and explode and stuff. And so just be very careful. Always make sure you're consulting a recipe. Okay. Um, so yeah, the iodine, borax, you're going to be like, borax. And I know, I was like, borax. I already mentioned it earlier. Borax is actually created in abundance in Israel. And I have this saying, and I hope this is largely a women audience. I always assume I've got a women's audience on this channel because really how women are really the healers. But I do believe that Israel is actually the creation site of the planet, like of the body of the planet, if you want to know what I mean. So this is where the sea is, the living sea is with all the salt, right? And this is where all the fertilizer is, right? This is the place of fertility. This is where Yah comes down, right? This is where the marriage takes place, right? If you get my meaning. So borax is one of the major things. Again, we return to Hebraic principles. We're always returning to scripture. We're returning to Hebraic principles. We say Israel, what's created in Israel? Black seed oil is created in Israel. Borax is created in Israel in abundance. It's a place of fertility, salt. So when we're looking at these things, we're vessels of silver and gold, biblical scriptural principles. So when you're thinking about healing and you're operating intuitively on the ancient path, then these things should come to your mind for solutions. And they will in the Ruach. And I know there's a lot of women listening and men who are like, yeah, that's what comes to me because you're natural healers, right? So these substances can be used for cleaning surfaces, cleansing the body in low concentrations. So borax, they actually sell it as a supplement in the health food store as boron. It's the exact same stuff, but they call it boron, but it's the same thing as boron. Same, it's a mineral. That's it. So, you can always try it, get it as supplements in the health food store, see how you respond. But if you're traveling with it, if you've got like a bug out place, a bug out bag, and you've got a little bit of it in there, you're living off grid in a camper or what have you, whatnot, or you're packing up your thing to go back to Israel when Yah takes it there, I don't know what. I've always got these things in my mind. I've got a trailer, I got all my stuff, and then we put it on the ship because we can go in carts. Who knows what's going to happen? But this is just how I think. So, so that's something, like I said, I provided a link again, so you can research that yourself and figure out how to use it. So you could, if you're creating a little garden, you can use it as a fertilizer. You can wash your clothes with it. It can be used in eye salves. It's a mineral. It's very alkalinizing, highly alkalinizing. So it does reset the alkalinity of the body. Okay, so they're multi-use. Again, multi-use. They disinfect. Vinegar, I say apple cider vinegar. White vinegar is better for cleaning, but apple cider vinegar supports the gut. Binders like charcoal can be used if someone's suffering from poison or heavy toxicity. They're detoxing because they're coming off of a medication or something like that. Borax also fights bed bugs and ants, okay? But it's also an excellent cleaning solution. Iodine helps regulate the thyroid and aids the body in detoxification. And another thing it can do, both hydrogen peroxide, well, let me give you more. But the most powerful, iodine and hydrogen peroxide will kill parasites on fruits and vegetables. So you can make up solutions with them and wash fruits and vegetables with them. That's what Max Gerson did in his hospital, his cancer hospitals. All fruits and vegetables were washed with iodine, okay? Salt and borax can be used to cure meat, okay? So if you're hunting in the wilderness, or you're catching some salmon, and you're going to be like drying some meat, I don't know, we don't know what the scenario is going to be, right? Then you can always salt the stuff and dry it out, and you've got a preservative, right? And you can also wash and clean things with salt and water, right? Salt, boron, and hydrogen can be used in baths and enemas to help detoxify the body, support the immune system. And I already talked about boron being used as an eye salve. And it was used by the Chinese to fight kidney stones. Why? Because it's alkaline again. Okay. And then there are H2O2 is very famous for being an anti-cancer treatment. Why? Because it's liquid oxygen. That's what it is. It's liquid oxygen, but it's highly potent. Okay. Same thing as when you drink fresh juice. It will, like apple juice and stuff, liquid oxygen is in there. And so what H2O2 does extremely well, and you also find it in tamarind juice naturally occurring. I drink, you guys, I'm drinking tamarind juice right now. I just did a video on it. I want you to take a look at it. I don't know if you can see inside. You probably can't. This is not the best idea because I'm going to pour it on my computer and I don't want to do that. But I have the tamarind pods in there. Oh, I did it. Oh my gosh. I have the tamarind pods in there and ginger and stuff like that. But it is extremely alkaline and it has naturally occurring H2O2 in it, as does Manuka honey. Okay? Manuka honey is made from bees that feed on tea tree trees. Okay, get it? Special tree oils, healing tree oils, very medicinal things, have these things in common. So, let me see. Yeah, so just imagine you got a bunch of worms and bugs and slugs under cold, dry rock. Imagine that's the inside of your stomach, okay? What happens, you open it up, all the sunlight comes in and all the bugs scurry and scatter away or die. That's what happens when you pour oxygen into your gut through juicing or through tamarind juice or through, what's it called, H2O2. And what this does also is it breaks down the biofilms of parasites and pathogens. Because what they do is, you know, they're just like Satan, the serpent, right? They cloak themselves. They steal your identity. Always identity theft with Satan, right? It's always identity theft. So what they do is they disguise themselves from your immune system by cloaking themselves in your genetic material. Yeah, that's what they do. So what happens when you take things like H2O2 or the Sebi herbs and stuff, cloaking device removed, and then your immune system is like, what? Who is that? And they start beating up on these things, right? So, so yeah, that's kind of how it works. Colloidal silver does the same thing. They destroy biofilms. Okay. I did another video on this. I'll have to do more on biofilms because it's a major issue with these autoimmune diseases. So another important thing to have is all like multi-purpose foods that both nourish and heal. Okay? Nourish and heal. So talked about moringa powder. Oh no, I didn't talk about it. Moringa powder is a good one. It's antiparasitic. Here's another thing. There are certain things where you find the word more in them. The Black Moors, Hill of the Teacher, Mount Moriah. Learn from the Moray. Moringa! Moringa's a good thing. If it's green, what color's the rainbow over Mashiach's head? Green rainbow. Green moringa. They're just the beginning of clues, but you know, you do more research because moringa's it's very antiparasitic, tons of minerals, tons of calcium, high in protein, okay? And you just think about it as the moringa dance, cha cha cha, the moringa dance. And then Irish moss and other seaweeds, okay? Why? Because they're high in minerals, but also because they soak up toxins, okay? Things like prickly pear or aloe vera. It's not a Sebi thing, aloe vera. Or, oh my gosh, I went and bought some of this. I always forget. Okra. These kinds of slimy kind of things, jelly kind of things, will soak up toxins in your body, okay? And also keep your lymphatic system running smoothly so it detoxes. It's like keeping all the rivers and streams in your body undammed, okay? So everything's flowing smoothly, right? So Irish moss and other seaweeds. So I'll use, like I said, I make a broth out of Irish moss, dulse, and nori. And I just grind it all up into a powder. I may add some cayenne, some onions, stuff like that, and I make that as a soup base, and it tastes as strong as chicken soup or beef broth, especially if you add some tamarind and tomato or something. Okay. Apple cider vinegar and sauerkraut do what? They support the gut. What does that mean? They add good bacteria. So if you're strengthening your immune system, always the same principles. You are adding more good bacteria to fight the bad bacteria. What do antibiotics do? They kill off the good bacteria and let the bad bacteria flourish and spread in your lymphatic system. So the natural fighter are natural probiotics, okay? You can get those capsules, but again, you always want everything as it is created by Yah, okay? So as it is created in nature is always the best way to go. Sorry guys, we're losing light. It's getting a little darker here, but you know me, this is what I always do. So I should buy a ring light at some point. You know, I actually have one on this mirror, but I can't find the plug. Anyway, you guys, I'm really just a nerd. I really am. Anyway, so sauerkraut and apple cider vinegar, kimchi, all of these things have that good bacteria, only vegan kimchi, okay? And I have a wonderful kimchi recipe on my site. You guys, the best kimchi I have ever had. Oh my gosh, it's so good that I put on my site. Look it up. Anyway, citrus fruit, coffee. Coffee, good for coffee enemas. Coffee is a natural superfood, okay? We already went into moringa being high in iron and protein. It's also a parasite killer, and it's a dry food, so it doesn't go bad. Irish moss has 92 of the 102 minerals that our body needs. I already talked about the soup stock base. Contrary to popular belief, coffee is a superfood. And you just can roast the beans, get them green so they're preserved all the time. You don't need to worry about, oh my gosh, are they going to go bad? No, because they're green. They're going to stay around for a long time. They're not going to go bad. And then you just roast them on a pan. You could roast them on a pan on a fire. You can roast them in a popcorn popper. And what they do is they help your body detoxify, raise your glutathione levels, and help your liver detoxify. So the light brown roasted coffee is the best. It holds on to the most minerals and what is it called? Acid, pantalic acid, I think it's called. Okay, so yeah, it raises the level of glutathione S-transferase and palmitic acid, sorry. And then what happens is that your gut becomes a sort of area where dialysis occurs, okay? Probiotics foods dual function, okay? We've already said feed your body while you add good bacteria and kill bad bacteria and scrub out your system, right? And we already talked about apple cider vinegar. So if you are sick, make your salads, everything with apple cider vinegar, with lots of pepper, lots of these herbs and stuff like that. Even if you put them on hot vegetables, you know, just as a sauce with lemon and so on, it will just build up your immune system and the heat will push it into your body. Okay. Yeah. Rub your lymphatic areas, like I said, solar plexus, behind the ears, over those major meridians on your head with citrus oils, with essential oils. Basic supplements you've always got to have on hand, vitamin D, okay? The vitamin Bs are also important, but parasites love vitamin B, and if you get rid of them, they won't be taking your vitamin B. It's better to get it from a natural food source. You can get it from apricot seeds. CoQ10, it's a ubiquitous, I think it's an enzyme, don't quote me on that, in our body that will also destroy bad things, okay? Essential to our body. People say it thins the blood, but I don't think it actually does that. I think what it does is it kills bad things so that your body, your blood normalizes. Digestive enzymes also aid your health because you're supporting your gut with digestive enzymes. A lot of times, if you have acid indigestion and stuff like that, it's because you don't have enough acidity in your stomach to kill the bad things in your stomach and digest your food. So digestive enzymes help with that. Okay. when one is ill, your system becomes bound up and it's hard for you to digest. So digestive enzymes will help assist you with digestion so that you can actually take in nutrients. So if someone is ill, it's good to give them digestive enzymes. Okay, so to summarize, family, basic first aid kit, follow the path of the ancient healers, multi-use foods, oils, chemicals, stick to the essentials. In other words, essential oils found in trees, herbs, seeds, nuts. Store-bought supplements, stockpile multi-use healing naturally occurring chemicals, okay? And get those wild crafting pamphlets. I have a simple little pamphlet that I have. Even if you just have to print it out go to Staples and get them to laminate it there, find some pictures online of these plants, go to your favorite sites, YouTube channels, screenshot it. You can do it yourself, okay? But get them so that when you're out in the wilderness, you can find, I have pictures on my Instagram of wild milk thistle that I found and burdock root and stuff like that. So it's actually, once you go looking for it, it's not hard to find. It's right out there. It really is. So yeah, is good, right? So once again, I hope that this helps. Try to have at least 3 from each of these categories, guys, or at least 1 or 2. I know it's hard. I'm always like overloading, but I love learning, you guys. And I will do some updates on some of this, but I'm going to go heavy into prepping, guys. So there will be more prepping videos. But I want to move ahead with this discussion away from the prevention. And I really wanted to start with the prevention. And I'm going to reiterate with as we continue with this video on the fact that I started this off with the prevention aspects, because now we're going to go into what we see are being the existing problems at this particular point in time. Okay, so what should I start with? It is important to prep. Okay, and even if this is a false flag, you should be prepped anyway. So just think of it as a dress rehearsal. Okay, and let me just see here. What I'm going to do is run a cute little video for you guys on the cause of disease. Okay, this is called the simplicity of disease, just so that you guys can understand it. And once you understand it, you're able to understand it, you're going to be able to activate that ancient ancestral healing gene that was given to you by the Hebrews or by the blood of Mashiach, and you'll understand more about how to heal yourself. Here we go.
Okay, simply put, cancer is... We have a lymph/immune system that identifies bad cells and terminates them so they can't replicate and spread. This is nature's intelligence at work. Lymph is also the body's sewer system. It's the major fluid of the body, much bigger than the blood system. It's where all of your trillions of cells dump their toxic waste so it can be eliminated from the body. But for lymph fluid to flow freely, it must be clean. You see, dirty lymph thickens and turns to acid. This is called acidosis, and it's the cause of most of our suffering. Everything from acne to arthritis, canker sores to cancer. Acidosis is caused from years of consuming too many lymph-clogging foods like dairy, grains, meat, refined sugars, cooked foods, high-protein diets, etc. Air and water pollution, chlorine, fluoride, heavy metals, pesticides, pharmaceuticals, including chemotherapy, household chemicals, food additives, radiation, etc. accumulate and cause acidosis as well. When acids burn away at cells, they can mutate and spread. Thick toxic lymph also becomes a breeding ground for viruses, bacteria, fungus, and parasites, which are all linked to cancer. Sluggish lymph also clogs glands and organs that produce immune cells and other things that strengthen our immunity. The medical community likes to only treat problems, so it goes after the specific cancer cells with all kinds of complex and sometimes barbaric methods. But the real problem is simply a toxic lymph/immune system. It doesn't matter what causes cell damage or where this damage is. The solution is always to clean your lymph. This is known as detoxification. It clears the way to let the awesome intelligence of nature do its job. No pill or machine can even compare. Eating fruit is a powerful way to detox the entire body. Fruit is alkalizing and it gets stagnant lymph moving to the kidneys where it can be cleaned. Organic herbs can really boost a detox. They increase lymph flow and strengthen the glands and organs necessary for strong immunity. The answer to cancer and all so-called diseases is found in nature. You want to overpower illness with wellness, and a strong immune/lymph system is the golden key. A true detox must include the intestines, also known as the bowels. This is the body's main channel for the elimination of toxic waste, and so important to your well-being that the natural health movement got started by focusing on this system. The small intestines are where digestion and the absorption of nutrients takes place. The large intestine, or colon, processes and eliminates digestive and some cellular waste. Most people's bowels are in terrible shape. Processed foods, high-protein diets, and other acidic foods take their toll. They cause acidosis, which destroys the bowel walls. The medical community calls this irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, enteritis, colitis, cancer, etc. Refined starches, sugar, and dairy products coat the bowel walls with a toxic layer called mucoid plaque. This blocks the absorption of nutrients and can literally starve the body if it gets bad enough. This sludge is also a breeding ground for parasites that gobble up nutrition that was meant for you. Mucoid plaque is acidic and can eat away intestinal tissue. If you don't move your bowels at least twice a day, you are constipated. Some people only move them once every week or two. Fecal matter sitting in the colon putrefies and toxins get reabsorbed into the blood, causing headaches, bad breath, brain fog, bloating, abdominal pain, heart arrhythmias, and more. Sulfur used in pharmaceutical antibiotics accumulates in the bowels. It suppresses the lymph system and weakens intestinal tissues. Sulfur is a fungal proliferator that explodes yeast like candida and other microparasites. Many people with chronic fatigue, cancer, diabetes, and so-called autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, and fibromyalgia have sulfur accumulations in the bowels. It shows up in the iris of the eye around the pupil as an orange hue. Switching to a diet of mostly raw fruits and vegetables is one of the best things you can do for your gut health. They cleanse naturally and keep things moving. When detoxing, always make sure your kidneys are filtering out lymphatic waste. Lymph is the body's sewer system, and all cells in the body dump their waste into it for cleaning. Cells in the GI tract are no different. If the lymph is not clean, it becomes acidic and destroys tissues in the esophagus, stomach, intestines, and all over the body for that matter. Please see my YouTube video on kidney filtration. There's a link below. The adrenals control the kidneys, so you won't have clean lymph unless they are strong. Weak adrenals can also cause nerve weakness, leading to constipation. Work on the adrenals at the same time you work on the kidneys and the GI tract. This information is also in the video I mentioned. To detox and restore the intestines, use herbs that gently stimulate the bowels, are not habit-forming like laxatives, clean out bowel pockets, help break down mucoid plaque, stimulate lymph and blood flow, soothe and remove inflammation, kill parasites, and strengthen the intestinal walls. Cascara sagrada, plantain, white oak bark, and slippery elm bark are good choices, but a synergistic formula is much better in my opinion. I wish you many blessings on your journey back home to Wellville. And always remember, love is alkalizing. Thanks for watching.
Okay, fam. Sorry about all the clanging around. I was like, oh, I just really was craving some, I just really needed some pineapple. So you can see from that video, once again, he's showing the same herbs that Sebi is using. And there's another doctor that uses them. I've never used his before, but it's the same ones, the Cascara sagrada, slippery elm. Again, it's all these alkalinizing herbs that cleanse the body. So I just want you to have that comprehensive understanding and hope, and to have some peace. So now we're going to go into the dark realm. We're going to look at We're going to look at what they're saying is the cause of the epidemic or whatever that's going on. Now, before we go into this, you guys, I want to tell you, I literally have been having serious autoimmune stuff since I moved into the building that I'm in. I literally have a camera outside my balcony window. And there are all these generators and everything around me, and 5G and everything. So I am the little canary in the coal mine. You can consider me that. So I've been experimenting. Yaz had me here experimenting for like the last like 3 years or something. And so what I've discovered is that anyone who's dealing with an autoimmune issue, no matter who they're going to, so whether it's Sebi or if it's Max Gerson or whomever, they're always like, okay, you got to shield your house, you got to shield your body, you got to cut down the electromagnetic frequencies, you got to reduce your chemical exposure, you have to change all of your body lotions, you got to change all your hair lotions, you have to reduce toxicity entering your body. You can only eat organic, eat raw foods, eat all of it. Everything has to change. This is all about reducing toxicity. And so one of the first things that when I looked into Gerson, when I was quite having some real stomach issues, and I did Gerson for about 2 months. And I wish I had done it longer, but it's hard to do, man. It's a lot of work. I couldn't afford to because I couldn't take time off. But one of the things they had us do was to protect the house from microwaves. Can't use a microwave, have it anywhere around you, from EMF frequencies, all of those kinds of things, because these doctors all know that these things weaken the immune system. So one of the things that they're talking about with the whole 5G thing is, let me just see here. Let me see. All right, let's look at this. This is the effects of microwaves, biological effects. I'm going to do this, of microwaves on the body. Okay, guys, I'm going to switch over so you can see this. The biological effects of microwaves on the body. I hope you can see this. Just been having weird stuff going on with my switcher. Yeah, you can. Okay, so that weird stuff being me. Like, sometimes I just have too much to do and I can't switch everything. And then I'm like, I have technical problems. I'm like, sorry, technical problems, but it's me. So anyway, sorry guys, I just really need this pineapple. So if you look at this Microwave Injured Veterans Network, it talks about the effects of microwaves. And what microwaves do is they cause a lot of illnesses. The vibrational water molecule rotation and reorientation response to multiple photon sources from collocated microwave devices can increase the chances of the DNA breaks within multiple radiation lobes. So, so a lot of these Gulf War veterans talked about having these microwave illnesses coming out of the Gulf War. And so these are some, you can just go to this site, microwavevets.com, and you can check out what the effects are. And so it talks about free radical stealing electrons, the process of electroionization, collocated microwave radiation is the cause. And so basically it breaks down your genes. So let me go to this page. One of the things that these guys were talking about was that exposure to 5G leads to flu-like symptoms, okay? Headaches, dizziness, nausea, rash, skin rash, itchy skin, burning skin, tingling sensation, tremors, muscle spasms, restless leg syndrome, foot issues, cataracts, eye damage, pressure behind the eyes, abdominal pain, large thyroid. These are all just basic disease. And what I think, for me, I'm going to do another video on the cause of disease and how it relates to scripture and everything. And I'm going to call it the noisome beast, because there is a cause of disease. It's Ha-Satan. And what 5G seems to do is give these noisome beasts, these bad pathogens and stuff in our body, more dominion over us and causes them to grow, okay? And that causes more acidity and more mucus and all of these kinds of things. This is just a symptomatic response that they're listing. But what's happening is that they're creating an acidifying effect in our bodies, okay? And one of the things they're saying was that Wuhan was the province where 5G was rolled out. Now, I can tell you here in Vancouver, people, children, all kinds of people have autoimmune illnesses and are always fighting them with all kinds of supplements and everything. But Vancouverites are very passive people. They really go along with stuff. And but anyway, within this, what was found was that in Wuhan on October 31st, the 5G was released. Now, what they're saying was that if you look on other sites like True News and stuff, they have numerous articles linking some conferences that business people had there in China about about population control and stuff like that in October. And it is said that November and December, the C virus was already out in November and December, okay? And I can tell you that there's a lot of people in Vancouver. I work in the film industry, and there's a lot of people who had a crazy, awful cold that is similar to what some people are coming down with in like November, December. And because we have one of the largest Asian populations in North America here in Vancouver, like we are the gateway to Hong Kong here. So, and we have 5G. So, it says YAHUA basically decided to set up 5G in those rapid built hospitals. Okay, so I'm kind of jumping all over the place, family. Let me just calm down here. So what this article here is saying, by the end of 2019, the capital city of Hubei, which is Wuhan City, is expected to have 10,000 5G base stations by the end of 2019. Okay? They established a network covering airports, railway stations, and other areas in the city, which will also help boost the digital and intelligent transformation of the industries with 5G technologies. And so basically they activated them in mid to late October and fully activated them by the end of 2019. And here all of the symptoms which are associated with autoimmune illnesses are exacerbated by 5G. And this was a warning. I kind of went in reverse for this, guys, so sorry if this is kind of all over the place. Please bear with me. I'm trying to work on this. So a researcher warns that 5G might actually cause cancer after all. Meanwhile, we are seeing increases in certain types of head and neck tumors. And let's watch and see how good my signal is, because I got 5G, honey. And so if this video is clear, 5G works. If it isn't, it doesn't. Okay? So let's just keep that in the forefront of your minds. This video is going to prove whether or not 5G works as a good video source. Because if it doesn't, if we get any hiccups, if we get any slowdowns, then we know that we just don't need 5G. Okay? So, I know I'm sounding like Mama Rosa when she got mad. They took her videos down. I was crying for that poor woman. She was like, "Gay!" She was so mad. Anyway, as 5G cellular network tech looms, conventional wisdom dictates that cell phone radiation is more or less safe for humans. You don't need to be sure in this world. Maybe, maybe not. We don't know. But writing for the widely respected magazine Scientific American, University of California, Berkeley public health researcher Joel Moskowitz argues that we don't understand the risks and that more study is necessary before we roll out a 5G infrastructure. Moskowitz's main concern, there just isn't any research on the health effects of 5G. He also pointed out the swath of studies, big, lots of words, that suggests that the existing standards, 2G and 3G, are more dangerous than generally believed. So he's like, not only is that dangerous, but the other ones were. Meanwhile, we're seeing increases in certain types of head and neck tumors in tumor registries, which may be at least partially attributable to the proliferation of cell phone radiation. And we know that the Russians would not allow cell phones or microwaves originally, okay? Just FYI, in their country. So there was a petition signed about this, and it's saying, should we invest hundreds of billions of dollars in deploying 5G, a cellular technology that requires installation of 800,000 or more new cell antenna sites in the US, close to where we live, work, and play? Instead, we should support the recommendations of the 250 scientists and medical doctors who signed the 5G appeal that calls for an immediate moratorium on the deployment of 5G and demand that our government fund the research needed to adopt biologically based exposure limits that protect our health and safety. So we know that's not going to happen, because we know what this is really all about. This is really about I went over to, Mike Adams, how he has his video that you guys can watch. I think, I can't remember who had it up, but for sure, the End of the World Ministries has a video up on vaccines and how they target the Black community, that one that Mike Adams did, and he was kicked off of YouTube. So anyway, this is his channel, his news channel. I don't always buy everything he says, because he's a little bit of a right-wing Christian. Not a little bit, a lot. But he is a scientist. He's more of conventional science, but he's useful. He's very useful, has useful information. He does the best he can. So what's happening is that we're getting all these conflicting messages. And the Trump administration officials are saying, don't get prepared, don't buy masks, food, cleaning supplies, or anything. Just wait for the vaccine and do what you're told. So it's like, that is the upshot of it all, of what they're saying. Okay? Now, I say all of this, we've now reached the stage of this pandemic to the extent that the Trump administration is responding in a way that's indistinguishable from what China did, right? So they're deny, minimize numbers, everything, to keep big business going. And I understand the need to prevent a global collapse, like economically, if everything slows down and people freak out and panic and buy all the supplies and everything. But at the same time, you have to be measured, right? So he says, stop buying masks. They don't, and if consumers buy masks, the hospitals will run out. And so they're admitting that they're facing a mask shortage. They're saying the masks don't really help, but yet the hospitals will need them. So he's totally contradicting himself, right? I don't know how much the mask will help. The only thing that can help is a really good mask, which I have some good ones from work, and they literally filter out viruses. Those little cloth ones that you get, I think they'll help somewhat. You know what I mean? It's better than nothing, I think. So while every nation in China is strongly encouraging people to buy masks and stop the spread of the coronavirus in the United States, our Surgeon General says the opposite, and he says you shouldn't prepare either. Don't buy food, cleaning supplies, nothing. His answer, when they said, should we prepare with extra food, cleaning supplies, his answer, no, not at this time. So the administration has become very anti-preparedness. And then instead of purchasing preparedness supplies that might help spread the coronavirus, Americans are apparently supposed to wait around for a vaccine that might take 2 years. Once it's available, it might kill you. By the way, as the SARS vaccine experiments ended up causing rapid death in all animal test subjects when they were exposed to secondary infections. Okay? So Trump is saying don't buy masks, don't buy extra food, don't buy extra prescription medications, don't buy hand sanitizers, don't be fearful, and do buy stocks. So I'm just mentioning all of this to say, the thing that I'm concerned about is their new drug, right? That they're saying is going to be coming along, that they mentioned at the last press conference. Here it is. It was developed by Gilead Sciences. Now there's a bomb in Gilead, or there's no bomb in Gilead, right? We're going back to the Bible here. As a treatment for the Ebola virus. See, there's a connection again to the weird viruses that are. AIDS is supposed to be like a slowed down version of Ebola, right? Ebola is the rapid version. So, and it's called remdesivir. It sounds like remedy deceiver, deceiving remedy. I mean, how are you not going to go there? I mean, in my head, I'm like, yeah, it's a deceptive remedy. I don't know. Don't you just naturally go there? I don't mean to be fear mongering, but there are so many people who are saying this. The tagline for this is a really long tag. Just wait for a vaccine and do what you're told, right? And we look at that remedy, deceptive remedy, basically, or, when you look at my thing, there's a scripture in Job 26:5 that says, dead things are formed from under the waters and from the inhabitants thereof. This is in reference to the fallen ones, the Nephilim, who came up and dwelt in the mountains of Mount Seir. And Seir has the word sea in it for a reason. If we reversed remdesivir, we get revised mer. Now, mer is the French word for sea. And we know that dead things are formed from under the sea. And in the flat earth model, the sea is basically, as I'm talking to you about the body, the sea is basically the amniotic fluid that surrounds the earth. When we look at scripture, it says that Yah sits above the circle of the earth, and he has stretched out the heavens as a tent for us to dwell in, as a dome, as a bayit, as a house for us to dwell in. That there is a sea of glass that sits before him. So he's looking through this sea of glass into the earth. And in a lot of the ancient representations, in the biblical representations of the earth as a plane, it's like a dome, or the belly of a pregnant woman is the Shamayim over the earth, okay? And there's a lot of ancient paintings and stuff. If you watch some of my other videos, I really show it. Basically, the sea is the amniotic fluid of the earth. And Hasetan's realm is the sea, it's the underworld. That's why um, the laws that rule us are laws of the sea. They're not laws of the land. When when you listen, when I was a Christian, they would always say, "Oh, obey the laws of the land, obey the laws of the land, don't break the law." And I was like, "Well, we can't break the law as long as it doesn't disagree. We can only break it if it disagrees with Yah's law." That's what I always thought about. But Yah's laws are the laws of the land. They're the laws he established in the matrix, in the land, in the earth, who is the woman that heaven marries. Okay? And so when we're looking at this thing, whenever you go to a court, you're always dealing, you go onto a vessel and you're always dealing with the laws of the sea. Okay? And so all I can say to this is we got to prep, but I would be very concerned about this because they say this is coming in out in about 1.5 to 2 years. There's I think it's going to come out sooner because they're already dealing with people. And look, who people who are patenting this kind of thing, right? And the coronavirus, the patent has returned to the CDC. It returned in January. So that means that I don't know, fishy stuff is going on. And fishy is the appropriate word because it's of Dagon. So I just stick with the ancient paths, follow Yah, you know, try to avoid these, I'm not pro-vax, because I don't know what they're putting in there. I do know that it seems to me that there is some kind of an agenda to just alter the earth, alter the amniotic fluid of the body, right? So that Hasatan will have more dominion. And, through CHEMTRAILS, through 5G, through vaccines, all of these things, this is how they're trying to force the iron to mix with the clay. But the scripture says the iron won't mix with the clay, And this is why we're called to come out of Babylon, my people. Come out of Babylon. So, I just agree that, I think that we do have to prep. Consider this a test. I have faith. Yah is good. I also have another video I want to show you guys. This is my last video, and it's on shielding, how you can shield yourself from electromagnetic frequencies and stuff to prevent disease. So I know I was kind of meandering a bit in that part, but here we are. I'm just going to show you this next video, and it's going to talk about how to, where did I put it? There it is. Why is it coming up? There we go. It's just going to give you a bit of information about resonance, what I call resonance therapies, and these kinds of things help to shield you. Okay? So this will just be a few minutes and then we will be out. Hi guys, welcome to and energy therapies that I'm using. I'm not using any laser therapies at the moment, but I did promise that I would do a video on this. So full disclaimer, I'm just an ordinary person sharing knowledge that I'm learning with you. I'm not a health professional, so none of this is offered as advice to you. This is what I'm doing. So it's up to you to look into the matter yourself, do the research, and learn to heal yourself. As I've said before, there are certain things that cancer, fibromyalgia, MS, and possibly lupus and autism have in common. And they are parasites and worms and biofilms. And the way that they can respond to resonance therapies, whether it's light, sound, laser, frequencies, magnetic frequencies, whatever the form of energy is, it seems to be that resonance therapies also can help us to heal. So, to start with, I am going to talk about the US Pro 2002. This is, I'm not advertising for them, I'm not getting any money from them. This is just things that I'm using based on research and my visit to a cancer clinic with a friend a few months ago. So I'm starting off with the US Pro 2000, and this is something that children with autism are using, and they use it on the kids on their heads. Naturopaths also use them on kids. I know Carrie Rivera in her protocols uses them on the kids, like wherever the kids are having the irritations, primarily like on their heads, around their necks, around their key lymphatic areas. So it's basically ultrasound. It's the same thing that they would use at an ultrasound clinic. And they also use it at the Immunity Therapy Center in Mexico. They use it on cancerous cysts. So they use the US Pro 2000 at the Immunity Therapy Center on people with cancer. And what they do is they have them internally take a special supplement that breaks down the tumors. And then the resonance from the ultrasound also helps to break down the tumors. But they also give them a lot of mop-up stuff. They give them some vitamin C, I think baking soda, IVs of both of those, and other things. I think also H2O2. And then they also get far infrared as well, resonance on their bodies. So, but they'll do them at different times. Like what it does is when I learned about this, and I knew that Carrie Rivera was also using it on kids with autism, when I was in Mexico, what I learned was that the very same areas where I was having pain or discomfort are the very same parts of the body that two of the cancer patients that I met there, well, one was my friend and then another gentleman that I talked to, were having pain in their bodies. And that's where I made the connection that it's all the same thing. It's all the contaminated lymphatic system. So the other thing I discovered as well was I had suspected that fibromyalgia, MS, all of these things are basically the same thing. Fibromyalgia, MS, cancer, and autism are all dealing with a contaminated lymphatic system due to an overload of parasites, pathogens, viruses, heavy metals. And so anyway, once I made the connection, I actually was looking at a diagnosis page for fibromyalgia, and it's exactly where I have all of my pain and difficulty. So that's why when I talk to people, I say I have an autoimmune illness, something like fibromyalgia, which I wouldn't call it fibromyalgia. I would call it, contaminated lymph. So anyway, I made a connection between this and Lyme disease. Dr. Alan McDonald in the movie Under Our Skin, which is all about Lyme disease, is the one who realized that Lyme disease was a worm. It was microscopic syphilis. And he also recognized that biofilms are what allow parasites, pathogens, viruses within our body to protect themselves from our immune system and from antibiotics. So a biofilm is basically when these creatures in our body coat themselves with our genetic material. So they're essentially cloaked, and both our immune system and antibiotics and various other things cannot see them. It's like Star Trek and the cloaking device over the ship. And so what happens is that there are certain things that break the biofilm down, and that's what the ultrasound tends to do. Now, you have to be really careful if you're doing these things because you have to understand what you're doing. And so, I am not recommending that you do this. This is not medical advice. I'm just telling you what I'm doing and what is working for me and what I saw was working on the patients at the Immunity Therapy Center. And I'm not recommending the Immunity Therapy Center. You have to do your own research. It's your own journey. And they're also using these techniques on kids with autism. So they use a number of substances to break down the biofilms, and this helps to break down the biofilms. But the other thing that they also do is they're always using a mop-up process simultaneously. Because once a cancerous cyst starts to break down, then what's in the cancerous cyst can start to pollute the body or go into the bloodstream. And then in the case of dealing with parasites, pathogens, whatever, viruses, tiny microscopic worms, you're dealing with them perhaps breaking off and going somewhere else. And you have to mop up the discharge and the crap that you're breaking down and your body is destroying. So it's kind of a three-step process. You use something that breaks down the biofilm, like a chemical or plant-like substance. So at immunity therapy, they use a special chlorophyll or green drink. I can't remember what it was called.
Porphyrins.
Harry Rivera uses MMS, and which is high in oxygen. And then what I use is the H2O2. So they're very oxygenating, and so the oxygen breaks down the biofilms. And so what I'm sensing is that the cancerous cells have a biofilm, some kind of a biofilm, a coating on them that needs to be broken down. So the next thing you do is you apply this. And you can't use it on any of your lymphatic area, like you can't use it on any of your glands. Sorry. You can't use it on any of your glands, but you can use it, like for example, I'll use it under my ribs. And a lot of the areas where people tend to have this pain, both people with cancer and people with MS and fibromyalgia and what was the other one? And the kids with autism. Everyone tends to have pain in the same area. So today I'm wearing this outfit because I'm going to start wearing a bodysuit to demonstrate anything body-oriented for you guys, because I just want to display a little bit more modesty. I don't want anybody thinking that I'm showing off my bod too much. I'm like, so, and I'm very skinny right now, still left over from my fast and eating Sebi style. But anyway, I'll show you some of the areas that I will work on. Now, you can use coconut oil. What I use as well is another substance that I found and learned, which is used both in concert with MMS and H2O2, is DMSO. DMSO is derived from trees. So it's derived from tree sap, ultimately. And they use it on horses, their joints, they use it on athletes. And so it also breaks down biofilms because, the tree is almost a lifeblood thing on our planet. It heals a lot of illnesses. So that's why tea tree oil is so great. That's why the tea tree oil that the bees have in Manuka honey has high H2O2 levels in it that help the immune system. So we're basically using similar oxygenating substances to break down the biofilms of these creatures, because the problem, or cysts, is because the problem is that a lack of oxygen, an inability for the cell to reproduce because the system is being polluted by pathogens or viruses or parasites, whatever the case is. And so when you use, like, the substance they were using, I still don't know what it was called, that was at the Immunity Therapy Center. I'll write it below if I ever find out what it is. Again, it was like a green substance, so then it would be high in oxygen as well. So, but all of these things use a lot of oxygen because these creatures generally like places that are dead, dying, dark, where things are rotting, like worms do. Worms go into the soil. So we've been over this a million times. Your lymphatic system is like the soil of your body where all the garbage gets dumped out. I'm going to demonstrate to you the areas where I use it. One can use coconut oil. That's what they did at the therapy center. One can use this comes with a plug and a cord that has a middle connector. And it comes with some gel, the ultrasound gel. I haven't really used it because I use coconut oil mixed with Phoenix Tears and some DMSO, and I find that's extremely effective. One of the things that I was encouraging my friend to do with a friend of mine with cancer was to use the Phoenix Tears, the same kind of combination, and she found it very effective. And her husband really wanted her to do it as well. So by the time I got to her, he had broken her down enough to do it, and it helped her tremendously. I also had a friend who has a medical marijuana dispensary, and she had encouraged my friend as well. And so eventually she started using it. It was one of the few things that would stop her pain, so her physical pain. So it helps to reduce the pain if you are using heavy carriers. Like DMSO goes right into the muscles, into the body. And it also will carry in the medical marijuana, which tumors and parasites, stuff like that, tend to really dislike medical marijuana. I would use H2O2 internally, and then I would also use externally as a carrier and to give slip to this ultrasound. I would use that combination. So you can see the Ultrasound 2000 has several settings on it, and you just switch it on, and then you have a switch for both the amount of time you want it to heat up and the strength. There's a low, medium, and high setting. You just switch this on, and then here you go to, so if I want this on high, I switch it to high, and then this is the heat. And it can warm up for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or it can be warm for 15 minutes. And so I'm leaving it on the 15-minute setting, and then I would set it down and set it aside if I wanted to. But usually I just start using it. I'll put my hand on it to kind of warm it up, but you can feel the resonance of the ultrasound immediately. Places that I use it, I will use it on my jaw, sometimes around my jaw. I'll use it on the areas of my head, like around my occipital bone, which tends to be where a lot of people who have fibromyalgia tend to have problems. And I'll use it on the top of my head, around the side. And again, you need to avoid your eyes or your tear ducts, but I'll just use it right across the top of my head. And I'll try to use it right on my hair, like right down to my scalp. You could even part your hair, put the solution on, and use it, and just slide it across ever so. So I'm just going to fast forward to the. You can watch this video. It's already on my site, Resonance Therapies. So it's already on my YouTube page. But what I want to get into here is the Taj mat. Okay, so the Taj mat is here. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Here. So I'm talking about all these. So next we have my infrared Taj Pro mat that came from Healthy Line. And they also sent me a special gift, which I still have to get resized, but it's a magnetic bracelet. So it's really nice. They gave it to me as a gift. I love the color. It's really pretty. So I can wear this all the time to stabilize my magnetic field. And it came in this lovely box. Lovely color, lovely box. So this is what the mat looks like. These are all broken up crystals. Like these are broken up stones. Amethyst. These are individual stones. And then these are the far infrared lights. So it's called the Taj mat, a PEMF mat. I'll show you a close-up of this, but it's a combination of far infrared lights. You see the red. And then woven through, you see through this mesh, these are all tiny, tiny stones. Those are photon lights. Which will give you the negative ions. There are also individual stones here. There are jade, amethyst, tourmaline, and obsidian gemstones that
release far infrared rays and negative ions. Use natural gemstones that convert heat energy into healing far infrared. The higher you set the temperature, the more far infrared you will receive from the stones. However, even at warm temperatures, you will still get the benefits of far infrared. The negative ions are naturally emitted from the gemstones once you have your mat on, even at 30 degrees, 85 Fahrenheit. Negative ion output is generally increased, and the output of negative ions varies from 300 to 3,000 per cubic centimeter. The photon lights, these are photon lights, the red ones. Photon light is a part of the light spectrum at a wavelength of 660 nanometers. It is known to provide positive skin healing effects that may come with photon lights indicated by the circular LEDs. The photon lights should make contact with your bare skin, and in order to receive their full effects, photon lights can be used for any period of time without any worry of side effects occurring, and the body's natural biorhythm. So the PEMF is the electromagnetic frequency, and that's the one that's identical to the Earth. And so on specifications that have been proven to be most effective, they are at a PMF of 7.83 hertz. That's 3,000 milligauss intensity, a pulse sinusoidal wave. The combination brings maximum effectiveness with simplicity and reduces complications. And of course, it's also in line with the Earth's magnetic field. And then woven throughout this is heat. And so it comes with this carrying case. So it's portable, you can take it anywhere. So that I can take it places like I can take it on.
Okay, guys, so I just wanted you to see that, because what this is doing is that it's basically helping to fight all of these weird magnetic frequencies. So there's a PEMF frequency that is fighting Wi-Fi signals and stuff. So for example, right now I'm sitting in that chair and I have it on while I have my 5G on. I also have plugs throughout my house, and you can go to my channel here and I have a video playlist on my YouTube channel that will talk about going out into nature and earthing and stuff like that. And this is why it's so important to get out and to go into nature, because of Yah's creation provides all of this natural shielding that protects us from these crazy frequencies. That's why they want to populate, these frequencies throughout our neighborhoods and stuff, like trees, so that this is Hasatan's frequency going out. And he's trying to make the iron mix with clay. It's not going to happen, right? So, but if you go to my channel, there's another video that you can watch. And let me see. I just have to find it for you. And it's all, I did this whole playlist that you guys can watch. And it's on, I go into environmental health. Okay. So that here I'll go into some of the environmental ways that you can fight for your health. This one's the benefit of fasting. I go over my whole book, Chaya, Eat, Life, and Fast, which you can get at livelightwell.com. But, and I really encourage you guys to make a donation to get that. But here we go. Here's this playlist. And what we can see here is that this is another, these are all these homemade cleaners and stuff that you can get, why you have to use natural shampoos. I have a playlist going into all of these things, okay? And this talks about the effects of EMFs on magnetic fields on our bodies, and how to prevent that. The benefits of eating off of silver and with your silver utensils, getting out in nature, all of these things I kind of review here in this video. I go into cleaners, you see with this playlist, natural vegetable washes. You're just trying to reduce the chemical load. give up store-bought creams and lotions, so how to make natural lotions, that kind of thing. So this is a good playlist for the environmental aspect of healing and protecting yourself. And of course, you want to be able to protect yourself from the EMFs, and as part of protecting yourself from this illness. And one of the things that I found, you guys, this is a secret giveaway. I was getting my butt kicked by this cold, and the one thing I did that would stop this scratchy feeling was I put that magnetic bracelet around my neck. Like I made a necklace out of it, and I may actually make necklaces out of these to sell them. But I basically made a necklace out of it, like a choker. And I put it on my neck because I found that I was getting the scratchy throat, but if I wore this, I wasn't getting it. It would go away. So, because this is a magnet, and it's correcting my magnetic field and balance. So, and I'm wearing all the silver and gold. Gold here from my mama, and silver here, also from my mama. A lot of it is from my mom. Yeah, so I suggest you go and check out A Healthy Line Creates That Taj mat, and you could just order some of the bracelets and stuff like that. You can also wear copper bracelets. All of these things are correcting your field so that it gets back to that 7.3 hertz, which is the same field that the what are they called? Aurora Borealis create around the Earth. That electromagnetic field. And that's the power coming down from heaven, from Yah in his creation. And if you watch my Fearfully and Wonderfully Made video, I go into that and how it works so that you can understand that we were designed for this earth. This earth was designed for us. This earth is designed somewhat like our bodies. And so then you can get these kind of overarching principles that repeat themselves in nature that you can relate to your children and easily teach them and your family members about health. I mean, some people are not interested. But as for those who genuinely can be interested in these things, it really helps you to strengthen your intuitive connection, also using scripture, to the natural source of healing. Okay? So may Yah bless you and keep you and cause his face to shine upon you. May he be gracious, lift the light of his countenance, and give you peace, family. And again, go ahead and check out my Live Light Well webpage. And I encourage you to also get my book on fasting, because fasting is one of the major healers for the body as well. Okay? And so I go into a lot of detail in my book about that. I'm probably going to post some review of a more detailed review of my book in the next week or so, so that you can understand more about the information that's provided in the book around fasting and natural healing. So thank you again so much for watching, and don't forget to eat well and eat life, and go ahead and check out that video. Shalom, Lila Tov, Lila Tov.